Yeah, we're live. Oh my goodness, we're live and we're laughing because we're bringing you something we've never brought you before. We are bringing you some of the husbands of the women in our community who have moved abroad. If you're watching our channel for the first time, welcome to the ExodUS Summit channel. We are all about Black women moving abroad, Black women and their families moving abroad. And today we're bringing you 4 of our favorite husbands and a wife. Hey, girl, hey. To talk about their experience moving abroad and all the things. So
that's right. That's right. That's right. ExodUS Summit is a platform. It is an event, a conference, and in-person meetups, and a Facebook community for Black women and their families who are interested in the things that we're talking about today. So we get to talk to some husbands today who can help to clear up our reputations on the internet. Help clear Rashida and our reputations clear enough.
That's what we're here for. Huh?
The internet is okay. We have an agenda. The internet is convinced that Rashida and I can't stand men. It's also convinced that ExodUS Summit is a place only for solo women, for single women. Absolutely not true. Women with husbands are welcome. And the husbands have been so supportive and so sometimes have been the first point of contact. And so we just want to have some time to chat with y'all about how we've changed your lives, how ExodUS Summit.
Before we get started, my name is Rashida Dow. I am one of the co-founders of ExodUS Summit. I live in Mexico City, and I've been helping women move abroad since 2019.
That's right. My name is Stephanie Perry. I'm one of the co-founders of ExodUS Summit. I've been a full-time traveler since 2015. And I understand what it's like to want to be in a new place and not think that it's possible for you to move abroad. And I'm also a person who has left the country behind when other people would say it's not going to work out for you. So welcome to ExodUS Summit. Subscribe to our YouTube channel right now. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos, live streams, happenings, fun times. Hello, fun time friends. How are y'all?
Time friends.
Good.
Doing well.
So good to see you.
Okay. All right. So happy to be here. Do you guys mind going around introducing yourselves and maybe saying like 2 or 3 sentences about yourselves and including where you are in the world right now or where you live? Yeah. I'm going to start at the top with Rick.
Hi, my name is Rick Crawley, and I live in Lisbon, Portugal, with my beautiful wife, Elise Benson. And we've been here for this is our 3rd summer. So we're coming up on 3 years here pretty quick. Thank you so much for having us. Beautiful ladies, our queens.
All right. Thank you. And Lamar?
I'm Lamar Martin, the other half of Lamar and Angela. We live in Querétaro, Mexico. We've been here 2 years now. And we love it here. And I miss Stephanie and Rashida in South Africa, so I didn't see you.
Why are you bringing up old stuff? Because
it was a disappointment. That's why.
I was disappointed too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Herman.
Okay, I'm Herman. I'm the less pretty side of H&D abroad. Unlike all these lovely people here, we actually are still in the States. And that's a part of our journey is the moving abroad process is a part of the whole getting up and going. So that's us.
Yes. Okay. But are you allowed to tell us where you live?
Oh, I actually live in Alabama.
Okay, thank you.
Tell us where you want to move to.
We are striking out across the world.
Okay.
Right. So we're narrowing down where our start place is, which will be our deadline is summer of next year, summer of 25. It's do or die. We will probably start off in Central or South America.
Ooh, okay.
Welcome, Gene. Introduce yourself.
I am Gene Hayden. My better half is Andrea. We live in Coimbra, Portugal. We've been here now about 22 months. And Rashida and Stephanie are wonderful, beautiful women of color.
Thank you.
We did not pay him to say that. We're not fortunate.
But it is true, though. Thank you for
It
that.
is true.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Rashida.
Go for it.
We got to meet, I think, each and every one of you at an Exodus Summit event first.
Mhm.
Yes.
I think we met you each at an Exodus Summit event first. Can you tell us do you know how y'all came into the Exodus Summit circle? How did you find out about this place? Sure,
I can
James.
start.
Yeah.
For us, when we were thinking about moving abroad, I was still working and Andrea was doing all the research. And my office was downstairs, her office was upstairs. That's all I heard was constant chatter. And it was mostly your voices because she was involved in the Exodus. I think it was the 2019 summit?
2020, I think 2020.
2020 summit, yes. And so I kept hearing her talking about all these things. She'd run downstairs and tell me all this stuff and talk about Rashida and Stephanie, Rashida and Stephanie. I heard your name so much. I said, well, who the hell is Rashida and Stephanie? But it was about the Exodus Summit, and that's basically started us on our way. You guys played a big part for us in our move because it gave Andrea a lot of confidence and just hearing about other Black women and then we started learning about other couples doing the same thing. That's how we found out about Rick and Halisi. We found out about them through you guys.
Okay. All right. And who else wants to speak on how they?
Well, you guys, you kind of helped save my wife's life, so to speak. She was going insane because, working, she worked in politics and doing different things. And I was at work, so she would be at home losing it in her Calgon take me away moments. And, burning candles and sitting in the bathtub in the dark. And when I come home, it's like, okay, are you okay? And then she found you guys. And then that's all I heard about. Rashida and Stephanie and Exodus Summit and blah, blah, blah. And they're doing this and it's amazing. And I figured out a way how we can do all the things that we want to do and we've been wanting to do through them. So thank you very, very much. Because if it wasn't for you guys, we probably wouldn't be here in Portugal.
And
So
you've created such a life in Portugal and such a community in Portugal. So
yes,
we're gonna take credit for that as well. If someone's come to Portugal through Rick and Halisi, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Waves. We're just creating waves throughout the world.
I came about this through my wife, who had been prodding me since 2010, wanting to move out of the United States because she had had it way above here with the United States. And she had been looking at Medellin, Colombia and places like that. And then I also started hearing about this Stephanie Perry person and Rashida Dow and back and forth. And I hearing about the Exodus Summit. And I was like, what is going on? And it was a perfect storm because I wasn't on board. And then the pandemic happened, and then the Orange Menace happened. And I was sick and I literally still have PTSD about him. I can't bear to hear his voice. And so, but I also realized I started seeing friends, family perishing early. And I said, is this all life is about? And then I started hearing Stephanie's voice from time to time in the next room, and then Rashida's talking about a better life. And I said, maybe there is a better way. Maybe there's something better in life for us than being stuck in the get up, go to work, come home, go to bed life. And that's what it was. And that's what catapulted me into wanting to move abroad.
We hear from a lot of women who say, I think this is a thing that I want to do. Now, how do I convince my husband? So can you please, I know, so Lamar, you said that Angela convinced you a little bit, but then a couple of you, it was kind of your idea first. So can you talk to some men? Can we talk to the men today? Can you tell them either, I guess, but two different questions. How do women and the wives or that you think you could let the men know about moving abroad, about leaving the United States for a new country that they may not be considering, that may help them be a little less resistant?
I'll start. So to add, and I'll add in the other question as well. So Dee was listening to you all on her phone, and then went from her phone to the TV. And I said, what are these women telling my wife? Who are these people? And one thing I can say, when you're with someone, this month will be 25 years we've been married. We've been together 31 years. And when you've been with somebody so long, something is important to them. What is it? We pay attention. So let me get out of my feelings of what I think I hear and listen to what's being said. And she was opening conversations about moving abroad. And so she found out Stephanie was going to be in Nashville, and she said, let's do a meetup in Nashville. And so we drove to Nashville, and I got a chance to meet Stephanie then. And I got a chance to meet Rashida last year in Morocco. And you all are great people. And you all have been a benefit to my wife. She took her sabbatical in 2022 because of her conversations and with you and listening to you. And I think that saved her life, because the year before we spent 13 months paying off 6 figures of student loans. We worked 7 jobs to do that. And she was in a bad place come January, and she took that sabbatical, and that was a blessing. That interaction for me made this conversation about moving abroad more important, because I got to see her in one of her worst places, and I got to see her revive. And so in that moment of, because, traveling, I come from a traveling family. She doesn't. I come from, so traveling was, but traveling and moving are 2 different things. And I think for a lot of Black men, you're saying to me, okay, because we see the credit cards at the end of travel.
Okay.
And so, you're telling me it's cheaper, but my credit card doesn't tell me it's cheaper. And we miss that there is life happening. And so we began to, I'm married to the research lady. And so she began to show me the life that was happening in other places. And so this became a conversation. And by throwing this channel up that we have, it made it something that we were working on together, and we got back to dreaming. And I think sometimes the loss is that couples are dreaming separately. They forgot the power of dreaming together. And so you got one person who comes in and says, this is amazing, we should do this. And, as men, we're saying, I built this house. The dream is here. I got this. The kids are here. I built this dream. Well, how are you changing the dream? And so when you're having a dual conversation, some of that has to be involved in the actual doing. As men, we're proof people. We're hands-on people. And so going on those trips and then making those trips more about being in the space than seeing the space, I think will help some with that conversation.
Okay. So you mean like being there, like doing more of the things you might do when you live there, experiencing as life could be if you were actually there full time. Okay.
Staying in places that are more home-like, Airbnb-like, versus staying at the hotel, at the resort, getting you're getting the massages and you're there for the relaxing. We're here, we're living. We go down to Mercado, we buy some groceries, we cook in our we cook in our little room. It's life on the space. We walked here to there. When you're in a space moving through it, because unfortunately, I think that we've lost the nomadic spirit. We don't even explore our own towns and states. We don't go to the states around us. So when we travel to do big versus travel to receive, to enjoy, to engage.
Okay. Yeah. So I never thought about that being part of the feeling of resistance. We built this life. I built this house is the dream. I've never thought about that being to something. I thought it was just like, men don't like risk. I'd be like,
they don't like change.
Risk. Okay, now thank you for that.
Yes, that was and you said about the bills at the end of vacation, right? Like it gives a different experience than living there.
Yeah, to piggyback on what Herman's talking about, one of the things I learned early on in our marriage, because Angela and I have been together, married 20 years and together 22. And one of the things I learned early on is a lot of times when she came to me about a conversation, it wasn't, my first reaction was to fix it, to make something, to repair it. When actuality, she wanted me to just listen. So when I started listening to the conversation about her wanting what her needs were regarding peace, wanting to have a life of not so much leisure, but just something different that didn't have chaos in it. And so when I started listening to that, it also impacted me from that standpoint, because I'm not big on moving. I don't particularly like moving. It's stressful to me. But when I looked at it, I said, that's a small price to pay for the happiness of my wife. And I love my wife. So I wanted to make sure that she had what she needed in life. And if it required that I move, then so be it. Now, what did I get out of it? Happiness. I feel better where I am.
Mm-hmm.
I don't regret the move. I actually am living a life that I had not lived in the United States.
Right.
And so right now, it's been such a ride that I don't want to get off the ride. I don't want to not have this life. Living here in Mexico has been such a blessing to me. My stress level has gone down. And people don't know me before, but I've lost 20 pounds without even trying. Without even trying, I've lost 20 pounds. I was 245, I'm 225, working down to 220. If I really put the hardcore press on, I think I can get down to 2. So, the stress level, the cortisol that causes that with regard to stress, it's gone. And so I feel so much better here. And I'm thankful for the move. And I'm thankful for you guys for, being a great influence on my wife that trickled down to me, that gave me the blessing of being here.
Well, thank you, Lamar. We like gifts. So, whatever crosses your mind. But I was going to say, you are also married to a researcher. And one of the things
Yes.
I know she did when she was figuring out how to get you to say yes to the move abroad was look for the things that you wanted to do. Like, where can you do your hobbies? What cities are there around the world that you can do your hobbies in? And I think that was one of it's not like she tricked you into it, but that was one of the great ways of like persuading you, is showing that the thing that you like is also available outside of the US, and it might come with even better things.
Here's the thing, Rashida. It wasn't really close to me where we were.
Okay.
And then she brings me to a place in Querétaro where the track is less than 2 miles from our house right now.
Okay.
So I'm going racing this coming Sunday. I'm a ball. I have such a great time hanging out with the guys, the fellas, and shooting the breeze and carrying on, learning Spanish. They're wanting me to help them with their English. They're helping me with their Spanish, helping me with my Spanish. I'm having a ball. I'm having a great time. The guys here have been so helpful, so welcoming. And every time I come and show up, they're like giving me hugs, and they hit me up on WhatsApp. Are you coming to the race this weekend? We want to see you.
Okay.
Which is a great feeling. So yeah. So she didn't trick me, but it helped.
Yeah. Right. And it also helped you kind of have a community that was easy to step into, that wasn't like dependent. Sometimes when you move abroad, you can be dependent on your partner if they're the more social one, or if they have the more connections. And you stepped right, and Angela is social, but you stepped right into your own community that was separate from her.
I'll tell you a little secret. Angela's an introvert.
Really? Oh, you know what? We're not going to. Okay.
Never.
Okay. Sure. But yeah, but it must be nice to say, like, I have things to go do with my friends.
Yeah.
I'll be back later, right?
Yeah.
Lamar's things to do includes going to the bakery. So you were in the place that y'all first landed in, you had a little bakery that was your place.
Oh, it's right around the corner.
Have you been able to place that? So that was the first place you lived in Querétaro, but now you're in a different home. Have you been able to find a little morning spot to hang out in?
So interestingly, there's a little shop that's being built. It was being built when we moved in here. So there's a gym, a butcher, a restaurant, and we're hoping a penderia, because right now, and they built a new La Comer. That's a half a mile from the house. It's huge. It's huge, and it's a beautiful place. It has a great bakery there as well. But hopefully, right down at the bottom of the hill from here, there will be another penderia, hopefully, or a coffee shop, one or the other. But this has been the best decision that I have ever made in my life, outside of marrying Angela Martin.
Okay, and we get credit for this decision?
Yeah, you can get some credit for this.
Okay, all right, we'll take it. Okay, Rick, it's a twofer for you. What advice would you give the men, right, who were like, I don't know about this? And how did you land? What did your wife have to say to you to get you to Lisbon?
What I would say to men is open your mind, open your hearts. Don't think that where you are is the end all be all, because there's a lot of life left. And this is a big world, and there's a lot of places that you can go and experience a lot of things. You know, my biggest thing is coming to a different country and having a community of folks that are just as close or closer to me than my blood and flesh relatives. I mean, to be able to get with people like Gene, be able to get to people like Lamar and hang out. I mean, Lamar and Angela came from Mexico to Portugal for Halisi's birthday, and we hung out along with Gene and Andrea. We all hung out and had a great time. So you find your community in different places. You become a part of a different community, and you're not stuck with that. I can't never leave. Who would leave America? It's like America's not the end all be all. As much as you think it is, and there's a world out there that will change your whole thought process if you let it. So give yourself the chance. Halisi didn't have to convince me too much of anything. I mean, when we had traveled before, and when we were in South Africa in 2008, and we weren't looking at real estate prices then to see, because we looked at each other and said, we can live outside the United States. So when we took a trip and we took a cruise and a Mediterranean cruise and visited Italy and Croatia and different places like that. And it's like, we can live outside the United States. And I fell in love with Barcelona. So my thing was Spain. I want to go to Spain, And she started immediately learning Spanish. So, it was the thing of, let's look at Portugal. It's right next door to Spain. Let's look and see how much it costs. And what life would be like in Portugal. And I looked at black people in Portugal. Just like, are they black? Because, you don't learn about Portugal in school. At least we didn't. So, when we did, and I looked it up and I found a black family who lived in Portugal. And I was like, you need to check this young family out that lives in Portugal. And she was, she wasn't interested in looking at that because we were going to go to Barcelona, Spain. And then she looked at them and said, okay. And took what they were saying along with she was learning from you guys and said, we can do this. We can actually do this. We don't have to have millions of dollars in the bank. We don't have to have all these things that, everybody else is saying, you got to have this, you got to have that. And life is going to be crazy if you move over there. And they started the slave trade and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, okay, how long ago was that? They've ended the slave trade. You have more of a chance of becoming a slave in the U.S. than you do anywhere else in the world right now. So, I was convinced. I was ready to do it. And she, listening to you guys again, putting, one and two together and saying, okay, we can do that. So I followed her lead and said, let's go. I am not resisting anything. I'm ready to go. Matter of fact, I wanted to be out of the country before the 24 election rolled around. I said, I don't want to be here when that happens again. If this person runs for office again, I don't want to be there. And we got out.
And that's part of the
So we're in Portugal.
You're in Portugal. You're in Lisbon. That's actually part of the focus of Exodus Summit this year, 2024. We want to help people, Black women and families, get out of the U.S. by the inauguration in January 2025, if that's what they want. Like if you don't want to be around to see what happens in D.C. next year, because one way or another, it's going to be chaotic, right?
That's right.
One way or another, it's going to be chaotic. So if you don't want to be around for that, if you know that your future might be overseas and you're interested in pursuing what that would look like or figuring out what tools or resources there are for you, Exodus Summit 2024 is the place you're going to want to be. The link is in the description, I hope. It's in the description.
Yeah.
And then it's ExodusSummit.com.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Exodus Summit, for those of you who don't know, Exodus Summit is an annual conference that is online, all online. So when you register for Exodus Summit, you will take off that weekend and you will learn from our experts and from our expats how to fast track your own move abroad. Whether your move abroad is going to be to a specific place, right? Or to you being a free bird out in the world like Herman and Dee are working on, right? Or a temporary move, right? Maybe you want to be out January. Maybe you want to be out for the election cycle into January, but maybe you want to come back after a while, right? Whichever strategy you would like to take, we're bringing in speakers and experienced expats to help you get your plan together and fast track it, speed it up, quick.
Right. And ours was the thing of not just a place. Our thing were a couple places. We have permanent residency in Mexico.
Yes.
And we have temporary in Portugal. And it shouldn't be hard to renew. You just renew online as long as you haven't committed any crimes or anything like that. But, we wanted to get that passport, that European passport, so we can live anywhere in Europe we want to without any question and no limitations. But, we also, and we tell people too, in our Black Utopia, we always tell people, give yourselves more than one option. Always give yourself, different options that you can do. So in our reality, we never have to return back to the United States if we don't want to. We got family there that we try to tell and talk to and educate, but family can be hard-headed. Family can be very hard-headed and hard to convince. Not that I'm trying to convince them, but
All right.
We'll be over here, and you're welcome to come.
And I love it. Real quick for Herman, your wife in the comments. She said you both took the Exodus Summit quiz and you're both surprised by the results. So as you're thinking about moving abroad, I want to know. So if you guys don't know, we have a quiz at ExodusSummit.com/quiz that helps you figure out what country/city would be a great place for you to move to. Are you open to sharing your results with the audience?
Sure. We did it last night, and I called. Matter of fact, yesterday afternoon, I was on my way home from work, and I called her after she sent it. After I finished the quiz, it was Johannesburg.
Okay.
And we both think Johannesburg is beautiful, but neither one of us are interested.
Okay.
For a variety of reasons. And that's, I think, a part of the conversations we've been having, as well as developing some of our individual interests. when we started this process, Africa was very high on my list.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to some degree still is. I still think that it ought to be in the consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Does it fit the lifestyle we want to live?
Right.
You know, my wife felt when we were in Morocco with you guys, when we were in the community, the energy style there brought her attention. That made it a no.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I didn't find the city beautiful, not that I wasn't interested in the process. Any place that provides tension, I'm leaving Alabama for that reason. I'm not going to trade. I'm not going to trade, you know, one backwoods for the next, you know, and so that is a thing. I think that's important in the conversation, that we as men are not taught to be in tune with what is energy good for us, energy positive for us. Um, I do occasional package delivery work when I need a little extra cash. And when I go to the place I work outside because the energy inside is too much. And I'm an empath. I started my work in behavioral sciences, not realizing I was an empath.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've had to learn to protect my energy. Listening to what Rick said earlier, I think a large part of this process with making these transitions to moving abroad, especially for men, is we don't have a men's community that builds on making this conversation relatable to each other.
Right.
And they are finding that community outside the States, but it doesn't always translate back to those of us who are still deciding or getting a conversation with our spouses or our partners. And you know, I've had the honor of interviewing these men on our channel. I do several men's talk conversations, and that is a constant thing. Is the as we are getting older, those of us in that half century and above, we are losing friendships as men, and so we make decisions based on this individual person. We don't interact, we don't bounce ideas, we don't go to counseling. There's a disconnect. And then, like I said earlier, and then our partner says, hey, let's change the plans. You said, yeah, hey, I spent all this blood, sweat, and tears to build up what you wanted, spoken and unspoken. And now you're asking me to not move to a new neighborhood. You're asking me to change the whole demographic of my life. When you have nobody to bounce that idea off of, I've called Rick, I've called Lamar, I've called David of Nikki and David of It's a Wonderful Life and said, hey, there's some decisions we need to make. I had a chance to go to Spain, but I would have been there without Dee. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. I called a couple of my brothers and they were like, here's what you need to consider. How does this affect you? What's the timeline? I had that. And I had to call guys who don't live here anymore because I don't have a on the ground community. And I think that is a part of the effect of the challenge that men have with creating a conversation. We can listen to you all talk all you want to, but you aren't our point of reference.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, yeah. I want to talk a little bit more about this because Gene, you're right. You said that there's no like men's community, right? Gene was convinced that the solution was to join into ExodUS Summit, right? But I think that you found better solutions. Oh, seriously, right? Gene, listen, let me tell y'all. At the meetup this was in Morocco. Right. And we would come down to the hotel. A lot of people were staying in the same hotel. We would get ready to go out to do our meetup stuff together. And Gene would be at breakfast and he'd be like, okay, here's how I think y'all should do this so that men can come, right? Here's what I think y'all should do so that the men could come. Even talking to our moms, trying to convince our moms that we should let y'all come with us, right? But I think what you found is better. I should be asking instead of telling. Have you found a better solution than joining in thing with men who are better able to like support you and meet your needs the way it wouldn't work if you were inside of Exodus Summit. Have you found that in Portugal or just online?
I think for us, I think for men in general, talking to other men who've done this process makes it easier. We've done this. When I started this process, I didn't need convincing.
Yes.
Matter of fact, I was ready to go the next day. The Exodus helped Andrea feel comfortable with it, with what we were doing. And for us, Portugal became kind of a natural place. Like Rick and Halisi, we traveled all the time. And every time we traveled to a different country, we'd look at different parts of it and say, we could live here. And we did that for years. There was opportunities for work for Andrea and for myself at different times, at different points in our marriage. We've been, at this now we've been married 25 years, together 27. So it's one of those things where we talk about everything. I know Herm was saying, men don't have a lot of can't bounce ideas off other men. Or for me, mine was a little bit different. We made our move and didn't tell anybody what we were doing. We operated in silence. So for us, we bounced ideas off of one another the entire time. I would be working, and I was working from home at the time, and Andrea would be upstairs in her office. And like, again, those Exodus Summit, the meetups, the YouTube videos, everything else, she's always listening to them. And then she would come downstairs and sit down in a chair in my office. And if I had a break or wasn't doing anything, we start talking about what you guys were talking about. And we decided on Portugal because it had the things that we wanted. Number one, one of the biggest reasons we came to Portugal is I have family here. Now, this is something I don't talk about a lot, but my uncle moved to Portugal 43 years ago. He was one of the original expats. He left the States at 18. He left the States in would have been about 62, I believe. And has only been back twice, 2 or 3 times. So he went down to Mexico, Central and South America, and ended up in Portugal 43 years ago. Unfortunately, we lost him to COVID. But that was one of those things that convinced us was, it's time to do something different. Because for us, it was, if not now, then when? Because everybody around you is dying. Then there was the political upheaval. Could we have stayed in the States? We had a really good life. To most people, there was no reason for us to leave other than that we wanted to, that we wanted a different life. We wanted to travel. We want to do things. And, you can't do that working, on 8 to 10 hour days, and you only get two weeks of vacation every year. There's only so much that you can do. So when we first started hearing about, the first time I ever heard about all the sabbaticals was through you guys with Andrea. So people were just taking time off and said, okay, we're just going to go and do something. Well, for me, it was like, well, if we're going to go, let's just go. And so we made up our mind it was going to be Portugal. And then we did the research. No, I'm sorry. Andrea did the research because she's the researcher, because I was working. And so when we throwing off, I had her to bounce ideas off of, and she had me. And that's what we did the entire time. And that process lasted 2 years. And then like with Rick and Halisi, because of the community that we developed through the social media channels, we went to Mexico and got our permanent residency also, just to have an option. Because at that point was why not? Why not have another option? What if Portugal isn't the end all? So one day we can say, well, hey, let's try Mexico. I'm looking for another country now to give me a permanent residence. And I'm looking at, I would love to have one in Africa also, just for the obvious reasons, of course. But that's something that I want to look into for future reference. Let's get a third residency somewhere, and then be prepared, because the world changed. The world is changing everywhere. The U.S. is a mess, but the world is a mess. But the thing about it is, you can make peace in your own in your own community. If you have peace in your own community, then you can pretty much live anywhere in the world. And for us, right now, Coimbra is the place. But who's to say? And right now, Coimbra is the place in Portugal. But Portugal has a lot of different areas. We might move down here where we are now in Algarve. We might go to Lisbon. We might go to the Silver Coast and move around. But again, we have that option, and that's something that we want to do. Now, going back to the men, when they're out there looking at this process, reach out. If you reach out to a lot of these groups, and actually look at the Exodus Summit, because that's where the ideas are coming from. The ideas are coming from Black women. I mean, they really are. The ideas are coming from Black women. But then when you look at it, go, okay, well, how can what they're doing benefit me?
Mm-hmm.
Can I live a life abroad? And then the hardest part now is getting it in your mind to say, can I live abroad? Can we live abroad if you're married? And then what are the steps that I need to take to get there? Because that's the problem with us. I think with men, sometimes you get comfortable with your things, whether it's the big house or the shiny little things that you have, the status of the job, or whatever. That's what keeps us locked down somewhere, because we're comfortable. We've been told that all of our life. The American dream was the car, the house, the 401k. But now look at it. None of it's worth it now. None of it is worth it. So, I mean, again, having other guys to bounce things off of, like my community now is much better. Would I have enjoyed it more during the process? Probably so. But again, I wasn't looking. This was a decision me and Andrea had to make. So I wasn't looking for any advice from anyone at the time. I just wanted to know what the process was. I wasn't looking for advice from anybody. I want
to stick with the conversation about men a little bit. Since we've started Exodus Summit, it's been a group for Black women only. We've made it like that so it can be a safe space. And if you've ever looked at the comments on this channel, you'll understand why Black women need a safe space. We're told all the time that the only reason you want to move abroad is because we can't get a man in the US or X. But it's frequently we are bashed for this idea and people show up in the community as telling us we are less than for doing the thing we want to do without regard to other people and how our move will be viewed by anyone in the larger community. And so, it's a safe space. We keep it like that. It is what it is. We know that's not coming from all men, right? But like, who can tell who you are with a little Facebook photo? So we keep it to women only. But frequently we hear men say you should start a group for men. Now, if you know anything about Stephanie and I, we're not doing double work. We're doing the least amount of work as possible. We're going to put out a good product. You're going to get one good product from us, and then we're taking a nap, right? That's it. And so I guess piggybacking on Herman's question, mine would be, why aren't men creating these communities where they can share the positives about this in a way that moves the men and show examples and that kind of thing? Like, why is it, no shade at all, but why is it I had to call my friend as opposed to there's a community of men I know who are doing the same thing and I can rely on them?
I can show you better than I can tell you.
Okay.
That's it.
I
can show you better than I can tell you.
Okay.
Because a lot of time we don't want to talk. We don't want to have a dissertation with someone about something.
You want to see it.
Yeah.
We want to see it.
So we connect easy.
I'm showing you it can be done. I'm not a millionaire.
So I'm
not military. I don't have a $1 billion in the bank or anything else like that. I don't live in a 4,000-foot villa or anything else. But you know what? I'm happy. I'm in peace. And for me, it's basically the point where men really don't have I don't know if I can't say we're not built for conversation, because we are. We have our conversations, but sometimes I don't think we want to try to have to convince someone to do something.
Okay, so you don't think there's a need for this community for like?
No.
Oh no,
No, there's a need.
There is a need.
There's definitely a need.
There's definitely a need for it.
So where it at? That's what I'm trying to get at. What's going on?
One of the things men do that I've observed is we stand in our own way. We are always standing in our own way and asking the questions of when we get the answer, that answer is never good enough. So we have to ask, well, why? Well, why is it this way? Why is it that way? And women take the lead role in saying, okay, this is how it's going to be. This is how it needs to be done, because you need to step aside, get out of your own way. It's okay. And finding someone that we can trust, who we love, and saying, it's okay. I got you. The same thing the United States is going through right now. The best thing the United States could ever do is to elect a woman president, a Black woman president. That's the best thing that country could ever do, because it opens up so many avenues, and it's just a whole different way of thinking that needs to be done, because old white guys, they ain't working no more. It doesn't work anymore. So, the biggest thing that when we talk to men, and we're trying to get there, but it takes a minute. It's like one brother at a time, trying to get them to understand, well, I can't do that. I can't leave here. I'm like, I built it. You ain't built nothing.
Right. Rashida, I've sat at tables with men that have visited Portugal, and when you're talking to them, you can see that at some point, some of them are checked out. When you're trying to talk about all of the things that they can benefit, how a move like this can benefit them, they can check out real fast. Now, their wives can be laser focused on you, but the men check out.
Here's the thing, Gene and Rashida. Here's the thing that I realized is that they check out because it's, how am I going to do this? How we're socialized, how we are pitted in life to be providers, and how are we going to provide and work? Where am I going to get this money to build this house, to buy that shiny thing, to give my wife what she needs and my family needs? And it's built around what I'm used to in the United States. I've been able to do it here in the United States. Now I got to go over here and do it over here. I have to reestablish myself over here. How and that's where you see this with Gene talking is that I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to, I got to deal with all this, and we're not socialized to deal with a lot of emotion, although we do have emotions. How we feel, how we see things, how we are going to deal with these things. And that's why it was such, I wouldn't say difficult, but she was talking to me, Angela was talking to me, but I was like, I can't do that because I'm working over here. I've got myself established over here. I'm bringing in the money. But then when it took, I'm going to say this, it took God making the nest very uncomfortable, because I was real uncomfortable. I wanted out. And that's what happened. I got out, and I don't want to go back.
So I'm hearing you guys talk about how your wives have brought the message of Exodus Summit to you, right? And for a lot of you, that was like an inspiration point. But now I'm wondering what happens to the unpartnered Black men, right? Like who aren't getting the message from a woman being laser focused and doing that. Like, what is that part of the reason? And we'll never really know, right? But is that part of the reason that the move abroad rates are higher for women than they are for men? Is that for the single men, there's no one like the same engine isn't there?
We all know how Black women have been treated in the country, and they've been ready to go for a long time. Has nothing to do with can't find a man or, whatever, every other reason that's out there. If they can find their own happiness and their peace, listen, I found my peace here. But sometimes people, when a Black woman says, I'm looking for my peace, some people think, well, you find peace in having, a husband and a family. That's what you're supposed to do. And that's, it's archaic thoughts. But, some people think that way. Mm-hmm. So when a Black woman says, I'm up and I'm leaving, that's a potential mate for someone, or, whatever, however you're going to look at it. For Black men, when we sit there and say, I'm going to go get up and leave and you're single, for a lot of people, it's a party. A lot of people sit and say, oh, well, you're going to go have a good time. You're not there looking for, what are you looking for as a single Black man? Right. There's always this thing that you're just going there to have a good time, to party and do whatever. Met a lot of single Black men here. Those brothers are here trying to live their life, be at peace, and just enjoy life. Again, this is not a party. Mm-hmm. Yes, we have a good time, but this thing is not a party. They go through as many trials and tribulations as anyone else during this process. But the problem is, we've fractured, the Black man and the Black woman relationship so much that, we're ready to tear them apart anyway. And then things like this, hopefully that can help bring Black women and Black men back together again, because now you can see, open your eyes and see. For the men, open your eyes, look beyond what you have in front of you. This is about life experiences. This is not material things. It's about life experiences now. I'm 56 years old. Most of my life is behind me. So whatever I have left, I'm looking to make the most of it. Yep. And I don't need any shiny things to make me happy. I need my peace, I need my travel, need my partner in Andrea. That's what I need right now. And that's all I'm looking for. And I think about that, sometimes that's hard. Sometimes they can't see it. Me and Rick joked about it. I said, sometimes you have to sit there. If you're married, you have to like your wife. Mm-hmm. You really do. Because sometimes it's just going to be the two of you for many hours, for many days, for many weeks going through this process. So you need to like her. Everyone loves their wife for the most part. But do you like her enough that when you can sit around and talk for 6 or 7 hours about moving abroad? And that's what we did. I know Rick and Elise did a lot. I know Herman and Dee do. I saw them in Morocco doing it all the time. Lamar, we've all done it. You have to do those kind of things. Now, to get that same type of vibe with just men in a room, I don't know how you do that. You can talk and bounce off ideas for, hours at a time, to say, hey, this is what think about these ideas. Think about this. Think about changing your life this way, because, it's been said already with the group. Sometimes we get caught up in who we are. We get caught up in who we are, mm-hmm. and not what we can become.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Amen, brother. I want to piggyback off of that. I'm sorry for interrupting earlier. I two parts of what he's saying. Men in general are, a lot of times, our identity is based in the work we do. Mm-hmm. Women go to work for a purpose. We go to work to show who we are. And so when those opportunities are high or low, we base the decisions on our lives about who we are, about where we are. And we have pride in being that something. And somebody says, who are you? They say, I'm an engineer. No, that's actually what you do. But for us, those things are tied together. And when those opportunities in our lives sway up or down, we're doing really well. We don't want to miss with that. When that's going really bad, do I have the opportunity to do something different? We fight with that. In terms of men getting together, Gene said earlier about, young men single men having to deal with the stigma of, you're going to a party. I think a lot of times as married men, this community of men theory this community, you know, because one of the things we've been trying to develop on Dee and I have been trying to develop on our channel, I've collaborating with a few other gentlemen, content creators, and we're trying to create a getaway.
Oh.
But one of the things we battle with though is the stigma of what are y'all going to do?
It's a party.
Yeah, what are y'all up to, and why are married men going? What y'all gonna do? What you need to do? You know, and it's like traveling without our partners. You know, suggest we're up to something, and it's easier for married men to just say, "Yeah, I don't have time. I don't need to fight that battle." And that requires several things. That requires just doing it. It requires partners who trust in that. That means that there's a conversation happening there about what is best for your partner. And because what's begun to happen is that mistrust, we then begin to bleed to each other.
Yeah.
What are you up to, brother? And I don't need nothing you got going on to cause me no problems. And so there's always these obstacles that we can sit down in the space together, never seen each other before, and hold a conversation. I mean, you know, Gene and I didn't know each other, and we spent time hanging out with y'all because y'all wouldn't let us hang out with y'all. You know, and I mean, we can communicate easy. We can strike up a conversation easy. When you're talking about, I sat across the table from a gentleman. Dee and I were in DC, and she did a meetup at one of the restaurants. I rode along. I sat at the end of the table down there. They went and all sat together. And the gentleman at the open space out there, we held an open conversation. We deep dialogue the whole time there. We conversation. We traded information. He has not responded to me yet. Okay. Because there's a commitment. There's a commitment to and a vulnerability that goes beyond we just talked. And once I have to become vulnerable, then am I safe? And because I said earlier, because we don't know how to balance our energy, we're in and out of bad relationships because we don't know how to recognize this person is not bad for us. And that can be somebody you're dating, that can be somebody platonic, that can be your family. We don't know how to balance negative power energy. And so it's just easier to stay distant. And so creating these communities is a challenge because what is going to draw in a way that creates a commitment and not just, you know, we're just some numbers.
You didn't ask for advice, but you've already, I think each and every one of you talked about, you're already not in the position to try to convince people, right? You want the people who are already committed. Married men would sound delightful, right? It would be, I think your wives would love it. Love who you would come back as, right? They get to go places and work on themselves, and they would love to see men do that as well. I think maybe there is an opportunity. I hope that is something that you still work on, Herman, because I think there is an opportunity because you don't have to convince people. Just like you've talked about already, there are people who are already interested. You let them know. And anybody who would need convincing, maybe they'll be ready in a couple of years. Yeah. The same way that Gene was like, listen, we're moving to another country. Nobody else gets a say. I think that there's opportunity for that to work. And I think it sounds like a wonderful, wonderful idea.
And we met all of you at our in-person women-only event, or we've seen all of you at our in-person women-only events, right? Like the spouses were welcome to be around, but not in or of, right? And so I think that there is a great opportunity there, but to the point you were making earlier, I think the conversation about married men traveling, especially like if the spouses aren't included, creates this like image, but it probably creates an image of people who aren't in your marriage, right? And a lot of what we're doing has to be, in order to live the lives we want to live and live freely, has to be not caring about what those other people think you're doing or think your life. People tell us all the time, we're a lesbian cult. And I'm like, okay. All right. Right. Like there is that element of like people are going to judge you and they're going to project their shortcomings, weaknesses, thoughts on you.
Right.
And freedom comes from being okay with it. Right. And so I'm not saying get up right now, leave your wives at home and go do whatever you want. I'm saying that until you're open to someone, until you're really ready for people to say like, and they all went to Brazil and had 17 prostitutes apiece. Like until you're willing for that to be like the thing that someone is going to say about you, because someone's going to say it, right? Like that in-person group men bonding just is not going to happen. Like because someone's going to be out there saying something crazy about you. It's just part of it.
Well, I remember in the summit we had, Move to Portugal summit we had, and we were talking in the men's section of it. And somebody in the comments spouted out, oh, so y'all doing the passport bro thing. And it's like, okay, what the hell's I didn't know what a passport bro was. Okay. It's like, I don't know. And Halisi kind of quieted him down real quick. It's like, really? Whatever.
Right.
But people they're going to label you when they don't understand.
Right.
So they don't understand and they feel like they're not included in something, they're going to label you. They're going to say, oh, well, see, y'all about this and y'all about that. It's like, no, not at all. It's not that way at all.
But this is how I met Rick. I went with my wife. Well, actually, what it was we had just finished driving from Washington, D.C. through Texas, through Querétaro to the airport and flew to Cancun for the Cancun meetup. And it just so happened that Rick and Halisi were in the same Airbnb that we were in. This is how they actually met. Our wives met face to face because they had been in conversation during Stephanie's, YouTube challenge. And so she came downstairs. Rick saw her and was like, hey, I think I saw Angela. She was like, huh? Who? Angela, and she's tall, beautiful, brushy. I think that's her. And met her at the pool. That's when I met Rick. So what Herman's talking about is, men going to a getaway, bring your wives. Because it's an experience for them too, because they can hang out and, meet the other wives, have conversations. And it's there, even though we should not worry about the appearance, what people say, because I was raised by my parents to not worry about what other people say. You doing the right thing, you being who you're supposed to be, don't worry about them, what they say. You just worry about yourself and how you carry yourself. So I'm going to behave myself the way my parents raised me to be, and I'm not going to be someone out here doing mischievous things. And at my age, I don't need to be doing that thing. And beyond that, I love my wife. I would never disrespect my wife in that way. And I want her to know that she can trust me doing whatever I do and wherever I go. So, but it can be an experience for the wives too, or significant others, their girlfriends, whoever. But to convince a man to give up what gives him his identity, what he's been socially put in, that he's been trained to be all of his life, not have emotions, not cry, to have identity in the car that he drives, the job that he has. I mean, Herman said it, to say that, who are you? I'm an engineer. No, not who are you? You're not an engineer. That's what you do. But who are you? People who know me, like Rashida knows, and Stephanie knows, and Rick knows, I'm a motorsports fan. And I build and race RC cars. And I love my wife, and I'm a family man. So that's who I am. And I'm not ashamed of that. But to be able to sit down and have a conversation with other men to try to convince them to come up out of that cesspool of being caught in this constant thing of this is me, when it really isn't. Because when I meet you and you tell me what you do, that doesn't tell me who you are. Who are you really? And I know who Rick is. you know, as a friend, as a brother from another mother, I know who Rick is. You know, he's a good man. He loves his wife. He loves his quad flying. You know, he's a former, you know, singer, you know, or still a singer. He's not a former singer. He's, you know, he's that good guy that you can count on, that will, you know, give you the shirt off of his back. And I know that about Rick. I know that about Herman. I know that about Gene, even though he gives recommendations for movies that are.
No, staying on point. You're staying on point. No.
No, I'm just messing with Gene. But these are good men. These are good men who I can count on. Come to Portugal, I can count on Gene and his wife to show us around and do the things that I would do for them when they come to Mexico.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to change the subject briefly for a little minute, and I want to ask you guys individually how moving to the place you are, or for Herman, as you have envisioned your trip around the world, how has that changed either your specific life or your family's life? So, Gene, can we start with you?
Peace.
Peace.
Peace. When I wake up every day, and one of my things I always one of the things I go by here is that I don't have a schedule. I don't want to keep a schedule. I mean, of course, I have appointments, like maybe a doctor's appointment. We have training appointments at the gym and things like that, but I don't want to schedule. When I wake up in the morning, if I want to go here, then I'm going there. You know, if I want to stay at home all day, lay in the bed, I'll do that. But for me, it's just giving me peace. I don't have to get up in the morning running around and doing what the world said I needed to be doing anymore. I get up in the morning and do what I want to do. And for that, and because of that, my wife's health, you know, her health is getting better. I find peace in that. Because with us having the life we had before, we were always on the go. We were always on the go. I mean, I'm talking about working and doing whatever, always on the go. But now I can just sit back and just enjoy life. And when people have, the question has been posed before, you know, so what's an average day like? What do you do? You know, and, you know, sometimes the answer that I got from Andrea is like, we do as little as possible. But that's what we want to do. Now, when we want to do something, then we're going to do it. You know, we've had some fantastic trips already that we do that when we want to. But day to day, no, I do as little as possible. You know, other than going to the gym. But peace is what this has done for me. It's given me peace.
Follow-up question for that. Little devil's advocate here. Is that moving to Portugal and being in Coimbra, or is that retirement that has given you that peace and that ease?
Moving to Portugal gave me my retirement.
Okay. A little more on that, please.
Yes. Moving to Portugal gave me my retirement. Could I have retired on what I have now and stayed in the States? Probably, but I couldn't live the life I'm living here. You know, and like I said, it's not like, don't look at Portugal. Portugal is not a cheap place to live, but you can live a life that you want to live modestly if you want. You can live extravagantly if you want. But it all depends upon what you want to do and what you're willing to sacrifice to get there. You know, now I don't have to spend $120 on gas every week, you know, in my car. So what? Guess what? That can go to something else. I'm not buying $200 worth of groceries every week. It seems like every day now because the prices are so high in the U.S. Whenever I go back. But I don't have to do that. I go to the market. I eat fresh food. I do these kind of things. Portugal gave me my retirement. So that's what I say. Yes, retirement gave me peace, but Portugal gave me my retirement.
Okay. Now, Herman, what do you want to be different when you go gallivanting around the globe with your wife?
Still being in the States and having this process has made it keenly aware of how invasive this part of our lives are.
Okay.
it is frustrating. Sometimes it's in the way. It's like the more we're working towards things, the more things seem to double down on this. And I talked earlier about seeing that peace, that rest, that glow that Dee had when she took her break. That is my ultimate goal. Okay. I'm probably like these guys here. I get joy watching her excited. I mean, that's a big deal to me. And as a partner, you want to be able to provide the best opportunities for them to shine. Because Dee and I are not retirement age, we're wanting to be free of required to. And some of the things that I think we flourish in, we are hindered from flourishing in the environment living in the States because of the cost of startups, the cost of investments, the cost of attempting, and when we take breaks from it, how much will, if I take a break off my job today, if I'm gone a week, it's going to affect me next month. Mm-hmm. If I have those opportunities and we're living in an environment that's more financially equitable, that is not a pressure on time. And I mean, to be able to sit down to a table and have a meal and not only didn't spend, a gargantuan in my wallet, but also, you didn't come over here 50 times asking me if I was done. As a chef, I want to enjoy my food. Mm-hmm. I want people to enjoy my food when I make food. And so when I sit down to a food, I want to be able to sit here and enjoy this on my time pace. And having the time to digest my food, to digest my space, to digest my surroundings, to actually be able to say this. When we went to Spain after we left Morocco, we went over to Spain for a while, and we got there and I was like, wow, the air smells like paprika. I mean, to be able to have time to be able to recognize that the environment is new and fresh, and that level of mental well-being is the ultimate goal. I think for me, more so than I was here or there. What place really blossoms the ability to go and not know that next week I got to go back to, right? And that's in my mind the goal of this process is bringing down, reducing the inherited health deficiencies, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Being able to have my wife here in 30 more years, 40 more years, 50 more years, whatever, just the opportunity for that is the goal. Because the longer we live here, the shorter our time is together. I know that. Those who watch our channel, I had a mild stroke at 46. I have no intentions of repeating that, but the longer I'm here, the more I'm in danger. And our conversations here are, how do I sustain you? How do I maintain this relationship? How do we hold on? That's not what I want my relationship to be. That's not what I want our conversations to be. I want our conversations to be what's next.
Thank you for sharing. Rick, how have things changed for you and or your family?
I got to kind of follow up with what Jean was saying. I mean, it's just being here, relaxing, doing what you want to do, pretty much when you want to do it, being with new family and friends in different places, being able to travel the world with each other. We traveled to South Africa with Lamar and Angela, and then they came to Mexico, and we're getting ready to go to Thailand in November to hang out and do different things. We're going to Belgium. So you get to see different parts of the world. You get to relax. You get to experience other cultures and stuff like that. But it's feeling safe, feeling free.
Yeah.
There's a freedom aspect that is just so amazing, so amazing. You know, you look back and you talk to different people that are in the States or whatever, and they talk about all the craziness and different things that are going on. I still have Ring from on our house in Denver, so I get alerts for different things, and it's like, oh my God, you know, you don't see that kind of stuff here. You don't experience all the craziness, the day to day things that people are facing. You know, living in the States, you're kind of free from all that, but it's just freedom. It's being able to breathe. And before we came on air here, I went to the Metadoodle down the street and just sat on the bench and looked at the view. And that's all I did. I didn't worry about anything. Nobody messing with me. Nobody, you know, feeling threatened. And it was right across the street from a police station. I never give police a second thought, where I used to always, the hairs on the back of my neck would always stand up anytime I saw a cop.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just that, it's being able to text and say, hey man, what's going on? And, you know, I want to do this, or let's go get together and have a beer. Let's get together and have, you know, get the Sangria Friday Society together or something like that. But it's just doing things with other people that are going through the same things that you're going through, of relaxation and freedom, you know. And that was our last meetup that we had this summer was freedom. It was about freedom.
I think Rashida and I both want to interject a little bit. But first, let me ask, can I ask my question first?
Go for it.
Say my thing first. It's not really a question. I think that most people who are listening right now can kind of understand Herman's answer about having health now, having more move abroad. Most people will understand Jean's answer about peace, but I think most people will not understand you saying you feel free until they feel this freedom. I don't think that anybody who is in the US long term, you know, who has not left the country for long periods of time, I don't think they yet understand what that feels like. That is the thing that we just can't, I don't have the words to say what it feels like to be free, but it is totally underestimated. Totally underestimated. I guess it's the worst kept secret or the best kept secret about leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. I think it is.
In the US, you think you're free, you know what? But you won't know. You won't know until you leave for a good amount of time. I love that you said that. I love that you said that. The first Black man from the US that I met when I was traveling full time, I started traveling full time back in 2019. First Black man I met was in Thailand, and he was from Chicago, and he was probably in his 20s, and he was teaching English in Thailand, maybe early 30s, and he just kept saying, "I feel so free. I feel so free." And I'm trying to ask him, like, well, what do you do? What's your job now? You know, the standard questions that I'm used to asking as an American person. And he's just like, I feel so free. I love that for him. I love that for everyone who gets to feel that. I think that we don't know yet what that feels like until we get it.
Yeah. All right, Lamar, it's your turn. How things changed for you?
Oh, but you didn't want to ask Rick why we
weren't invited to Thailand? I put it in the comments. I'm gonna find his wife. I'm gonna find the wives that I hurt.
Okay. I'm
not going to address this with them. I don't want to be disrespectful. I know how to find the wives.
Okay.
Find out why we didn't. Oh, we're going to go to Thailand. Oh, we are? Okay. Anyhow, Lamar, we're going to pretend that didn't happen. Tell us about how things have changed for you and or your family.
Changed a lot. The question that was asked by my wife yesterday was about when we walked up from the beach in Portugal, and I said, I cannot believe that this is me in Portugal feeling great, and I can't believe it's me who has moved and lived in Mexico, And here I am traveling to different countries. Coming to Mexico has been such a blessing for me and my family. Uh, it was short-lived for Benjamin because he was here a year and now he's on the East Coast going to college. Gabrielle is preparing for her last classes in high school and she'll be graduating soon. But getting up in the morning and going to the rooftop on his house and watching the sunrise, at 6:45, 7 o'clock in the morning, it is so beautiful and it's so serene and it's just absolutely fantastic to look at the trees and the architecture and the landscape and over the mountains as you watch the sunrise. It's just amazing. It's amazing. So it has changed me from this guy who was stressed and feeling like what Herman said. I remember walking into the system agency, and as I walked up the walkway, I felt like I was going to switch triangle getting feedback. Let me turn this on. So
Try now.
I felt like I was stressed, and now I feel relaxed. Did the feedback go away?
Oh, look, some.
It's better.
Yeah.
So you feel relaxed now?
Yes. I can breathe. And every morning I make coffee and get a pastry and I'm chilling and having a wonderful life. I'm not stressed. Gene talked about the doctor's appointment. Angela, right before I came back for this, we were at the chiropractor. I was having pains. Pains are going away. So I have time for those things now. Uh-oh.
You're muted, Rashida.
You are the only person who has teen children you had multiple children with you. Now you have one. Can we talk a little bit about what it felt like to uproot her? Because she wasn't like a youth, right? Like she was a big girl when you moved her from the East Coast to Mexico, and she's living her big girl life there now.
Which one are you talking about, Gabrielle, or are you talking about Vanessa?
I'm talking, I think, about Gabrielle.
Yeah, okay. Gabrielle is now 18. She's had her normal teen issues, going through different emotional things as far as a teenage girl. And we're having to, walk that with her to help her navigate, to guide and things like that. She's grown a lot. I've seen changes in her emotionally, how she deals with difficult situations, how she deals with excitement, how she's made friends and adjusting and adapting to her new environment. But soon she will be leaving us to go to college and move on to the next chapter in her life. And that's what we're working on now to prepare her for, is to be out on her own. Her brother is on his own at UMES. And so it was definitely a different thing for us to drive to Mexico, bring 2 dogs, but it all worked out. And so the first house that definitely got a chance to experience, that you came to visit Rashida when we were there, helped, with the transition, and now we're at a new place. And eventually it's just going to be me and Angela as empty nesters. And that will probably give us the ammunition to be able to start traveling more. I shared, I don't know if I've shared this, but my dream vacation would be to follow the Formula One calendar for a year. And, from Australia to Bahrain, to Japan, to China, to Italy, to Spain, to England, to Belgium, those are places I would like to visit. And if I can couple that to one of the favorite things in my life, spend it with my wife, that would be fantastic. So I'm open to more travel now than I've ever been in my life.
Okay, that's beautiful. I forgot. So, backing up a second, as a father, like head of household, you picked up your family and said, well, collectively, you picked up the family, the kids, came with, and said, this is our new life. And everyone has adjusted, really, I would say, remarkably well.
Yeah, there were some bumps. I mean, but that's always with kids. And it's it takes some wisdom. This is one of the reasons why I miss my parents. Could not reach back to my mom or my dad and go, hey, how do you think I should handle this? And that kind of wisdom was missing, but that was also bittersweet. That was what allowed us to, one of the things that allowed us to move anyway, because all of our parents were gone. So when we decided to leave, we decided to leave with the knowledge that my parents, especially, I'm the only child that's married and has a family. So I didn't want to deprive my mother and my father of the experience of grandchildren. And my mother made every attempt, every holiday, every school holiday, whatever, at Christmas, to come to our house and spend a week, 2 weeks with Gabrielle and Benjamin and Vanessa, and to be able to have that experience. And now that they're gone, and it made it easier, but it was also sad, because I miss my mother and my dad tremendously. The wisdom and the guidance that they provided for us is greatly missed. And I wish they could, because I know for a fact, I told my wife, even though my dad went to Korea as a war veteran, and that's the only country that he had ever been in outside the United States, my mother had never traveled out the United States. But if it meant that she could see her grandchildren every day, oh, she would have been in that van with us as we drove from DC to Querétaro. And she would have probably been in Cancun sitting in the Airbnb while y'all were out on the yacht having a great time. So I truly believe that I think that they're with us. It's funny how it catches my attention every day. Every day I see 10:18 on the clock. 10:18 Carrington Avenue was the house that I grew up in. And that lets me know that my parents are watching over me and that they're checking in to make sure everything is okay.
That's right. We are doing things this way to live better for ourselves, but also like to help fulfill some of our ancestors, our families' dreams too. I think there's that. It goes beyond just us. So it's reaching forward, changing the lives of your children. It also does reach back. It also does. I'm sorry, I'm trying to put the links to y'all's YouTube channels on the screen, but I'm doing a terrible job of it. They're in the description of the video, friends. The links to the YouTube channels are in the description of the videos. I need to get Andrea's channel up, Jean, but the links to the channels are in, listen, but I'll get YouTube channels are in the description. Rick and Halisi's channel is Our Black Utopia. Lamar and Angela's channel is Lamar and Angela. And Herman and Dee's channel is HND Abroad. They're linked already in the description of the video.
Okay. We're at the time we told these gentlemen we would take, but I don't want to stop. I don't know. Stephanie, do you have more questions for them?
Y'all have a few more minutes for us? Your favorite people who changed your lives? Thank you. Thanks, guys.
we're here for you. At least I'm here. I can't speak for everybody else. So.
Yeah, I'm there. I got you covered. I got you back.
All
Thank
right.
you.
This is a good topic. This is something good. I was looking at some of the comments, and it's like, wow,
This is
yeah.
also a good time to remind you guys that these, because we're taking full credit, no matter what they say, we're taking full credit. These men would not be where they are right now without Exodus Summit, not the group, but the actual annual summit that happens every year since 2020. So this is our 5th year hosting it. This year, our theme is moving abroad and moving abroad quickly. So that you can get abroad if you want to before the next inauguration. If you are a Black woman, if you have a family, or if you don't have a family, it's a welcome space. It is an opening space. No matter what your family looks like, this is an open space for you. We want you to know that we are here for you with loving hands. You see these men here, you probably won't see them again for a while, because we don't center men here, because we really feel like the Black woman's experience navigating through the world is so distinct from so many other experiences that we want to center that. So this is not a place where we hate men, no matter what you hear coming out of my mouth. It is not like a man haters club. We really want to see the Black men that we are in community with thrive around the world, but we center our work with Black women, around Black women. So if you're a Black woman and you want to move abroad, if you want to bring your family with you, if your partner has been talking about moving abroad and you're not quite sure about it, come hear the stories of other Black women who have moved to their dream destination, who are offering you the tools they've used, the resources they have, and the knowledge and wisdom they've used to create new lives that are serving them, serving their families, and that they love. You can find tickets at ExodusSummit.com. It's all online, October 11th through 14th. We are in, I don't know if you're watching this live today, we're in early bird pricing. Early bird pricing is kind of our friends and family time. Prices go up September 9th. There's not a lot of detail on the website right now, but there will be more information later. Unfortunately, that information might be going up when the price increases. It's not on purpose. It's just based on what we have. We're giving you everything we know right now. We're very excited about some of the speakers. Steph, do you want to speak to that? Some of our speakers are?
We have sessions. So we're bringing in speakers because we want to talk about the quick exit. Okay.
Mhm.
We're bringing in experts on some things, and we're bringing in some expats. So Christine Platt, who is Afro-minimalist, is coming in to talk about our relationship with stuff and how to be liberated through having less. We have Adelia Borshade coming in, of course, to talk about money, how to figure out your number, right? All the men here said that their wives are the researcher. One of those pieces of research is like, not going to this particular, and how much money do we have access to? Those numbers are often numbers that are less scary once you see them on paper than the idea you have floating in your head. So Adelia is coming to help us get our numbers. Marsha Barnes, the finance bar, Marsha Barnes is coming in to talk more about actual long-term financial planning once you've moved to a new place. How do you adjust your financial plan to this new life? Because sometimes you've been planning for retirement. Now, what happens when you get there? You got to make some adjustments. Those are some sessions. We're talking about how to school your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you will still have school-age children, how to school your kids. We're talking about multi-generational moves. If you're taking a parent or an older person with you, or if you're leaving an older person in the US, how do you navigate that? We're, of course, talking about the basics that people will want to have answered. What about healthcare? What about insurance? And then we're talking about country dating. How do you choose a place for yourself? How do you find out what your criteria is in the first place? And then how do you find a place that might fit that criteria? Those are some of the sessions happening at Exodus Summit 2024. Get your tickets, please. Thank you.
We're also talking about making sure figuring out what paperwork you need to stay in a country long-term and making sure you know the way to get it. We are talking about house sitting because that's one of a great ways to spend a lot of time outside of the country without spending a lot of money. I saw a question in the comments earlier about how do you afford all this travel? There are tricks and tools to make this significantly cheaper than you think. And we have them. And we're not gatekeeping them. We talked about you can find house sitting information anywhere. But if you want to hear from the queen of house sitting, who I happen to know, you can come to a summit and hear the things that she knows about house sitting that has turned a lot of people, including some people on the screen right now, into house sitters themselves. Someone might be on a house sit currently, I think, possibly. Yes. So they're staying in other people's homes for no money.
That's right.
Yeah.
Having a great time. So these are all things we're going to talk about at Exodus Summit. If you are familiar with one of our favorite people in the world, Octavia Rahim, she's coming back this year to talk to us, do a rest session. Herman talked earlier about how when his wife rested, she got that glow back. And so we're going to lead a session. Octavia is going to lead a session. We will be attending. I will be resting with her about how to add more rest into your life so that when you're in the planning process, when you're thinking about moving abroad, when you're doing the work now, you don't get so overwhelmed that your plan falls apart. But you've learned how to integrate rest into your current day-to-day, and you can live a life that feels full, that gives you a glow, even before you move abroad.
That's right. That's right. We hope that we'll see you there. This is for Black women and their families. We hope we'll see you there. So can we talk a little bit about safety, friends? Did you have any concerns? So in the thing that I think may be a hurdle to men is that in the United States, we are convinced that we live in the best country. People have been convinced that the United States is the best country and you can't go anywhere else because all those other people are so dangerous and those other places are so dangerous. So can we talk a little bit about safety? Did you have any safety questions before you started researching this move abroad? And are you safe? You're in Mexico, you're in Portugal, you're on your way to bop around the world. But is it safe?
I've always felt safe. I've felt safe since I've been here. I mean, you got crime everywhere, but some of the lowest countries that have the lowest crime are not where you think they are. The United States is definitely not one of them. But Portugal is one of the safest countries in the world. You don't have guns floating around. It's not a gun culture at all. If you stopped and talked to a high school student or any school student about shooter drills, active shooter drills, they look at you like what are you talking about? Active shooter drills. They don't understand the concept because it just doesn't happen here. I mean, you don't see officers. There's different places you go in Europe that, you'll see kind of not militaristic looking officers and they carry automatic weapons, but it's not threatening to see them. They're not approaching you. They're standing there at their post and if anything, they'll nod to you, or if you need directions, they'll give you directions somewhere. But they're there to do their job. They're not there to intimidate you. They're not there to, just pick at you or whatever. They're not menacing. The police here in Portugal, what I call the city police, I'm sure there's a different name for it. But, they carry a sidearm. They're not carrying rifles and all kind of stuff and all geared up. I mean, they wear polo shirts with police on them and police on the back. It's not, they're not fully geared down to where they're getting ready to fall over like you see most of the police officers in the U.S. Look like they're going to, if you push them, they fall over. They got so much equipment on them. But, they don't bother you. They don't bother you at all. They're doing what they do. If you need their help, they're there to help you. But it's no intimidation factors whatsoever. So you feel safer. People here are more, they'll talk. There's a story that somebody was telling us about a guy that had just flown into Lisbon and got in the Uber, and the first question he asked the Uber driver was, "So where can I buy a gun? And the Uber driver is like, you can't own a gun. It's Portugal. You can't own a gun. And I guess he said, well, how do you settle your differences? And the guy, Uber driver, said, we talk. We talk. It's like you need to get back on a plane and leave because it's not done that way here. We've never seen kids fighting. You know, they do kid things, they talk loud and everything like that, but it's not threatening, it's not menacing. No one's cussing each other out, at least to our understanding. We couldn't understand what they were saying anyway if they were cussing each other out. But, you know, they talk, they get along with each other. People get along with each other. And if you don't want to be bothered with somebody, you go on your own way and, you know, call it a day. So, but you just feel you don't feel militarized and threatened. You know, no matter what you do, no matter where you are, you just don't feel threatened. No one's out to get you. So the hairs on the nape of my neck always lay down. They don't stand up anymore like they do when I'm in the States.
Uh-huh.
And they still do. Whenever we come back to the United States, I'm on constant alert.
That's right. Be
And you don't
surprised.
have to be that way.
Can you? Yeah, you'd be surprised how often people ask us, can I bring a weapon into whatever country? How can I? I'm like, friend, you're going to need to unlearn a whole lot of stuff before you're going to be able to be out in the world. Yeah. That's not done. That's not done around the world.
Yeah. No, you can't bring a gun in here. In order to obtain one is you have to go through a lot. You have to pass all kind of different things, and then you have to be in a sporting club, and they're not giving out. You can't go out and buy an AR-15 or anything like that. You know, if you're in a shooting and you're in a sporting club and sponsored, you go through all the different things you need to go through to purchase a shotgun. But you know, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to do. So,
anybody
that's
else?
my thought on the safety.
No, yeah, you're better off just relaxing, understanding that you're in a safer country than the country you left, and so you're not going to need to be armed. Just understand that. Anybody else want to talk about safety? Were you concerned in the beginning or before you started the research, or was it never an issue? Or
for me, it was probably never an issue, only because you know we've traveled a lot around the world, and the problem is what you hear in social media, the public media, news, things like that about other countries. Some of those things may be true, but that's a very small percentage of what you see. The news makes it look like some of these other countries are just, terrorists are running around, shooting up everybody left and right. That's not the case in a lot of places. I remember the first time we went to the Middle East, me and my wife, a lot of people said, went to Dubai. You guys aren't afraid to go there? I said, no, not at all. Why would I be afraid to go there? Because, they're bombing cars and things like that, car bombs and all these kind of things. It's not the case. Dubai is one of the safest countries in the world. Portugal is one of the safest countries in the world. I can walk around the streets here at night in any city at any time of the day and not feel threatened one bit. And I would feel safe for my wife doing it. And I know a lot of women here that, go out by themselves and they do a lot of different things. And they walk at night. When we live at Queenwood, we live in a college town, where the university is. You see young ladies walking the street all the time, just going back and forth home, to the store, wherever they're going. They're having parties. So there's not a lot of ruckus. Even when they have festivals, there's not a lot of ruckus. The police are everywhere. There's a police presence, but you rarely notice them because they're not, unless something is really happening, you're not really going to do anything. I think the only time I saw something was somebody tried to pickpocket somebody and they ran this guy down, and they just basically put him in the car and put him in jail. And there was no beating. They didn't jump on him or anything like that. They grabbed him, put him in the car, and they left. That was it. But for the most part, no, you feel safe pretty much anywhere you go. And the hardest part for just like the gentleman getting in the Uber, we're so conditioned that you think you have to lock your doors, close your windows, lock the windows at night and everything else. Well, we sleep with the windows open now, doors open, things like that. It's not really something that you really think about. You're cognizant of it. You're not crazy and say, hey, nothing is ever going to happen to me. But when you're out there, you still feel very safe. I'm not even going to see just kind of say you feel very safe, but always just keep, you always have to look out for something because, again, like Rick said, crime is everywhere. There's going to be some kind of crime somewhere. But for the most part, no, I don't have a problem with safety at all or feeling safe here.
So in Mexico here, you hear the stories about the cartel and all this stuff. People, that doesn't exist here. Just like in the United States, if you travel in those circles, you have to be worried about that kind of thing because it does exist in the United States, just like it does other places. There's crime in different places. There are people that don't have the right idea about life and want to do something that they should be doing. As far as guns here in the United States, the only place you can get a gun is where Rashida lives. And it's in a military installation, and you have to have all kinds of paperwork, justify what you're doing, how you're doing it, why you need it, do you have a business, and those kind of things. If you're caught here, and this is what I read in actual Mexican immigration documentation, if you're caught with live ammunition, meaning even as small as a 22, if you get caught with it, you're gonna pay the price. So it's not something that is in the culture here. And it's interesting, the president of the United States, who is now stepping aside, had a conversation with the former president of Mexico, and Biden says, can you do something about the fentanyl? He was like, can you do something? And the Mexican president said, can you do something about the guns? Because the guns that exist here in Mexico are coming and they're being smuggled in from the United States because the proliferation of firearms in the United States is out of control. And so that's where we have to worry about gun violence here in Mexico. It's not from them being sold here, it's because they're being smuggled here. And that's become a problem. But do I feel safe here? I feel extremely safe here. Wherever I go, you see police officers, as you would see, like you see in Portugal. Some of them have, automatic weapons. They're on big SUVs. They're stacked up in the back, but they're not menacing. They're not sitting there hunting you down. You don't feel this feel of dread when they pull up behind you in traffic because we have our vehicle and we're driving. I don't have that feeling of, oh my God, there's a cop behind me. What am I doing? Did I drive too fast? Did I make a wrong turn? Did I, drive do the stop sign? No. That's not how I feel here. And so I feel very safe here. Even though there is an instance of cartel somewhere in southern Mexico down south, it's not in Mexico City. It's not in Guanajuato. It's not in Querétaro. It's not in San Miguel because they don't do business there. If you get involved and you hear about people being hurt, killed, or whatever, they stepped into their environment where they should not have been. So I don't mess with them. They don't mess with me. I stay on my side. They stay on their side. It's the same thing in the United States. My cousin told me years ago when I visited LA, he says, don't go on that side of Crenshaw. I said, why? He said, don't wear red. So you have to understand the culture. You don't go places where they operate and do business. I don't do that kind of thing. So here in Querétaro, I feel very safe.
I think there's a measure of common sense that comes into the process. As Lamar just said, most of us have lived in large cities. You live in a large city, there's just certain places you aren't. And I'm in the South on top of that. There's just certain places you aren't. And you have to use that same measure of common sense wherever you are. having said that, Dee and I were in Spain walking down through what would be where we're from alleys, but they're the main streets. And, after we got past the initial shock of, okay, this is just built differently, we're not having to look over our shoulders, cops are riding by and they're not staring as they ride by. When you move past that conditioning of, then I can sit in the restaurant and not have my back to the wall. It doesn't matter where we sit in the room because I'm not having to watch all the exits all the time now. When we did our first residency in Mexico, we took our youngest with us both times. He was 18 at the time. And he and I went out late one night to try to find a little something to eat. And his shoulders were relaxed. And I had never noticed it. He's not even in an environment that would be dangerous for him here, but he has learned the cautious stance. And his arms were hanging down like Jordan walking across the court. He was just like, here we are. And he brought it up later about how, at ease he felt. And that was really a defining moment for me in a part of the traveling and recognizing that, I'm just a man on the street. I'm not that black guy, or, I'm not in a dangerous position because some lunatic decides he wants to shoot up the area. It's just, and it's not that those aren't things that can happen. Let's not be unrealistic here. Let's not live in a fairy tale, but the proliferation in which they can happen is different. And to know that not only are you potentially safe from that level of attack, but that you're also safe from the people who are supposed to be protecting you in the first place. There's a different breathing process. There's a different level of stress that, reduction. And again, I've watched you all, and I'm making that in the general sense, not just you guys. I've watched people in this last year and a half that Danique and I have been watching people move abroad and watching your glow change, watching your weight change, watching your, and I go, that. And I think safety is, I've interviewed a lot of husbands who said, and my wife went out and I didn't stand on the balcony to watch her go. And I didn't tag along and I didn't walk her out to the car, not because all of a sudden they were ungentlemanly, but because all of a sudden here's was space she could move in without him having to exert his manliness on the space and let somebody know I'm watching you. Or I got to ride along because I need to be the swivel so you can be free. And that says safety to me.
Safety and freedom, right?
Yes.
Safety and freedom. That's how we know that people have not really experienced full freedom yet. If you need to have, you're not yet experienced the freedom that we have had the pleasure, the opportunity to experience.
Yeah. I want to thank all you guys for being here with us today. I'm going to listen. If you've looked at the comments, I'm going to pretend I don't see them right now.
Okay.
They are in the comments talking about round 2. And I'm like, this is a ladies channel. We bring these men one time and y'all talking about bring them back. And I'll pretend I don't see those comments right now.
Except that we will be talking to Jean very soon again.
Yeah, we will.
You'll hear. So don't worry, friends. You'll hear from some men again.
Yes, we are opening the aperture and talking to more men here about their experience, because we know that some of y'all not coming off your husbands, no matter what.
No matter how
I say, y'all sticking beside them. So we're gonna try to help you.
Yes.
If your husband's reluctant, if he doesn't want to go, or if you're not sure what it would look like for your family abroad, we're looking to bring you more stories of families who are doing this. Because it's funny, we had this conversation, I think with Halisi. Yes, with Halisi the other day about how for her, Rick, on their channel, they frequently get single people who show up saying, oh, I guess I can't do this because I'm not married. And at the same time, we have married people showing up saying, I guess I can't do it because I'm not single. And so we're trying to kind of cross-pollinate these areas and show you that this is for everybody. If you want this for yourself, no matter what you think your roadblock is, there's a path for you. We're bringing you a ton of paths at Exodus Summit this year. And yeah, that freedom, that peace, that joy, that safety is out there for you in your place in the world. And on the place of the planet that you are going to feel joy, there's a space waiting for your feet.
That's right.
And I want that. Yes, Jean.
That's right.
You're me.
Okay. Back to the men. Listen, let your wives join the Exodus Summit, and just sit back and listen. I did that for 2 years and just listened to them for 2 years. And you will learn and you will hear a lot of things. Yes, it's going to be from a woman's perspective, but just turn that around and just don't think about it being a bunch of women talking. Think about it as being people talking about what can we do to change our lives, because it's all about changing your life. The whole move abroad process, whatever, for whatever reason you have. Some people's like, I can't do, the political thing anymore. I'm not safe. I don't, the economy's bad, whatever your reason is. And there are a plethora of reasons out there. Go out there and look for the information. Exodus Summit, look at those. Talk to these gentlemen here on their channels. You're going to get information. I was inundated with information from my wife from all of these channels before we made our move. But again, that's how you learn. You're going to learn from them. Stephanie and Rashida, they're some smart young ladies. They really are.
Brilliant.
Smart, beautiful.
Brilliant ladies.
Their mothers are fantastic.
Yes.
Oh my God.
They have someone in the background named Frances. She's a bulldog, but she's fair. And I appreciate Frances too. She's the one kicking me off the bus in Morocco, but I'm okay. But seriously, just take the time to listen and once you listen, then have that conversation with your significant other. If you're single, listen to what they're talking about. They give a lot of good advice, good resources to make a move abroad, to do a sabbatical, to do whatever you want to do. No one's saying you have to do it right away, but with the political climate the way it is now, you might want to do it sooner rather than later.
Yes.
So,
So to piggyback on what Gina is saying right now, allow yourself to grow, because you can listen, but if you don't allow yourself to grow, to step out on faith, to take that leap of, let me see what it's like. I can tell you right now, putting your foot in cold water in Portugal is a great experience, because that water was cold.
yes, it is.
But to put your pinky toe in the water of exploration, of stepping out to see what else is out in the world, to allow yourself to grow. I had to allow myself to grow. And I've grown a lot since being married in 2004 to my wife talking to me about moving abroad and experiencing different things. And I am so grateful. You will not regret the experience. You will not. So, take a look, listen, and listen to Stephanie and listen to Rashida. And when they have their Exodus summits, listen along with your wives. You'll learn a lot.
I'm looking for affiliate fees, because I have shared you all with so many ladies that I've been in contact with. I work with a lot of people who are struggling.
Okay.
And I have said, get online. Of course, I haven't subscribed to me first. But then after that, I say, you need to go over here and check out these ladies, because they are handling their business. and I am openly grateful to the impact and the support that you have shown these ladies and my wife in particular. That you have intentionally engaged her. You know, you all have, you know, a broad audience, and that you all have intentionally engaged her in this process means a lot to me. And in return, I've tried to direct some people you all's way, because I think the opportunities that you have provided these ladies, intentionally or unintentionally, is massive. And I want to thank you for the work that you're doing, and encourage you all to do this. These gentlemen are my mentors. You know, I appreciate the interaction that they've had in my life in this past year and a half of being in this process. I do a Man Monday on Mondays. Yes, self-promotion. Y'all check out Man Mondays, because I think this is another part of that small piece of trying to create these conversations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
So can I give a plug
Sure, please do.
So we're getting together with Black Sit Global again.
That's right.
For the 2024 virtual summit, Move to Portugal virtual summit. For those, it's November the 2nd through the 4th, and it covers everything from immigration, taxes, residence, all over the country, and talking to different people throughout the country. And also, and just go to bit.ly, Move to Portugal 2024, and join us for our summit.
Okay. Thank you.
But like everybody said, these are amazing women, and oh my God, you will learn everything you need to learn. You'll learn everything about side hustles. You'll learn things of, you know, YouTube, starting your own YouTube channel. You take Stephanie's YouTube challenge.
Right, please.
Hey, it helped us get to where we are. So
Mhm.
thank you, ladies. We appreciate
Stephanie,
you.
stay on Andrea.
Is she here? Okay, hold on.
Stay
All
on
right.
Andrea about that. You know what we talked about.
Oh, stay on her. Okay.
Stay on.
I would love it if we could leave here today with Rick singing us out.
Do you have
Come on, Rick has a fantastic voice, y'all.
Do we need
I
to
have
make
heard this over and over again, but I've never heard the
All right,
voice.
I'll sing a little bit of Chocolate Girl by the Whispers.
I heard that is your song.
Perfect.
We have heard this is your
That's the
song.
one.
So come on.
All right.
That's the one.
Don't be Elise mad at us though. Go ahead.
If
Too late,
there
too late.
was such a thing as a wish come true, I would wish for you to love me just as much as I love you. And if in life there was just one thing that only I could possess, I would pray for love for you and me, and let the world take the rest. Thank you, ladies. You're beautiful.
All right, Rick.
Thank you all. We appreciate you all. Thank you,
guys. Thank you.
I'm gonna hit the button.
I'm gonna press the button.
Okay.
Take care.
Next time, guys.
See ya.
Bye.